And welcome back to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. Praise be to God. It's so good to be on with you today. You know, there was this crazy thing that happened. It's kind of funny. It's not funny in a ha-ha way, like, oh, that's a good joke. It's more funny in a we live in the craziest timeline kind of way. So any story that starts with TikTok, immediately you're just like, okay, here we go. But see, the problem here is TikTok influences young people. Young people, whether they be children or Zoomers, people my age or anything like that, it actually affects people, and it changes people's minds, and it also will causes emulation if it gets popular. Because people today, kids today, they value likes, comments, subscribers, shares. They value that almost to the exclusion of everything else. It's their social capital. I don't know, maybe you weren't like this, but were you like this when you were younger? Where somebody would, if they called you chicken, or said, I dare you to do something, you were like, no, I gotta do it. I have no choice. I'm stuck now. I'm required, honor bound to do it. And no matter how dumb the thing was that they were going to ask you to do, or they were like, oh, we're going to jump off this bridge. I double dog dare you to jump off that bridge. Then you were like, oh, well, he double dog dared me. I have no choice in the matter. That my will is taken from me. And you had to do it as a kid. Well, it's kind of like that. Only worse, because now you recognize that somebody wants you to do something, and then you recognize you'll get praise nationally from social media for doing something. And that's kind of the threat of social media. Now, I was going to play this clip for you, but this dude has a very vulgar mouth, and so we're not going to play the clip. But there is a video of this guy who is a transgender woman, or identifies as a transgender woman. What does that mean? It means it's a biological man who is trying to tell everybody that he is a woman. And there's this trend, and this guy is just one person who exemplifies this action. But the trend is this transgender people, quote unquote, and they go up to normal working class people. In this particular case, it looked like an immigrant working in a pizza shop. The guy clearly didn't know English very well. Where he was from exactly, I couldn't tell you, but he clearly didn't understand everything that was happening. And he even tells him that he doesn't know English. And so the guy doesn't believe him. He's like, you know English. And what the trend is, he goes up and says, oh, what gender am I? And whenever they tell them the obvious answer, they lose their minds and start calling them slurs, calling them homophobes and bigots and transphobes and all these different things. And these videos go viral, and you should see the support they get. It's kind of concerning. And we saw this in a really funny way a couple years ago when the transgender stuff first started. There was this hulking dude, like the guy looked like he lifted weights, like a very big guy, who went to I think it was a GameStop, and he comes in, and the GameStop guy behind the counter can accidentally, because here's the thing, most of these people are not like radical conservatives, or most of these people are go along to get along people that will call you whatever they want to call you. You just don't look like a woman, dude. You look like a man. And so this hulking dude goes up to this guy at GameStop, and the guy on the counter keeps saying sir to him. And he says, it's ma'am, in like a super deep voice. And he like knocks over stuff. And it went viral because people were like, the guy is showing a lot of aggression, very masculine aggression, if you get my drift, for someone who identifies as a woman. But the reason why that it's important to bring this topic up is because it shows three different things. One is the lack of courage for a lot of these people, because immediately for most of these situations, when you see the video of it, the people are backtracking immediately. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I totally. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And they immediately will cave to whatever the person wants, especially if they're on video. They don't want to get canceled. They don't want to get their lives ruined. And so immediately they're like, oh, yes, ma'am. Two, the delusion, like the absolute absurdity of the delusion of these people. They want to force you to deny your lying eyes, to say, look, you can see clearly that I'm a man, but you must say 2 + 2 = 5. It's like what we see. What was it? Was it George Orwell? I always get the different dystopian novels mixed up in my mind. But when they say, okay, or maybe it was Fahrenheit. I forget. It doesn't matter. Well, when they say, okay, what is 2 + 2? And he keeps saying 4. He's like 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4. And finally, he tortures them enough. He finally says, okay, 2 + 2 = 5. And they say, wrong. 2 + 2 equals whatever the party says it equals. They're not trying to create a new paradigm. They are not trying to create a new rules. They're trying to create an authority structure. An authority structure that says whatever I say goes. Whatever I say goes, and you have to go along with whatever it is. Because the new thing may be something else tomorrow. You remember whenever it was kind of funny. You know certain people in your life who just go along with whatever the most recent narrative is, right? Whenever the whole Black Lives Matter thing was happening, they put up a black square on all their social media feeds. Whenever the Ukraine war broke out, they immediately changed all their stuff to having Ukraine flags in all their profile bios and all that stuff. Then the Israel war broke out, and they immediately put up the Israel flag in their bio. Then they realized, oh no, wait, we're supposed to be supporting Palestine, so they switched it out for the Palestine flag. And they're like, oh wait, no, then that's not right either. And they end up like their bio ends up being just a series of flags and different symbols, and they stand for nothing. They actually have no beliefs of their own. They are just trying to parrot the current thing. And it's even a meme where people will say, I support the current thing. And it's kind of, it amuses me. I think it's hilarious. But that's one of the other problems with this, is they want you to say, sure, whatever it is you say, man, whatever it is you say, I'm for that. And no one has the courage to stand up against it. And these people, and I sometimes I question whether or not these people are sincerely disturbed in the head, or if they're just trying to troll for clout, for just trying to gain followers, to get popularity. But this guy, I mean, he looks like a man in this video of this guy confronting the pizza worker. He looks like a man, but with long hair and and just dressed in a very inappropriate way. And those two things, he's like, yeah, I'm clearly a woman. And that brings me to my third point. That it's an important takeaway from this story. The third point is the reduction of what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. That is one of the biggest problems here. One of the biggest problems is that it reduces manhood and womanhood to just being physical appearance. Now, it's funny because the same group of people will say, oh, you're just reducing man and womanhood to your chromosomes. And they'll say that that's reductionist. And therefore, we are the backwards ones. We're the reductionist. But then if you actually listen to these people talk, they say exactly what they accuse you of doing. So this guy, he tells him, he goes, why can't you tell I'm a woman? I have long hair. My nails are dyed. I have long nails. Don't you see my clothes? I'm obviously a woman. But I'm thinking, wait, wasn't the current thing a few months ago, a couple years ago, saying that, oh, guys can wear dresses, guys can paint their nails, guys can have long hair. It's not a female thing to do that. Anybody can do that. Remember that? Do you remember that? In fact, it's so weird. I know people, and not so much anymore now that I'm out of college. It's less so. But while I was in college, I knew people, men, who would paint their nails. They'd paint their nails. And it was like a thing. It was a trend. Guys painting their nails. You might remember that from like probably the 80s. It was big in the 80s, but it kind of went away, came back in, I want to say the 2000s with the goth movement, and then again it's coming back now. And guys are like, oh, guys can paint their nails. You know who else paints their nails? There is a boxer, Tank Davis, who is one of the pound for pound best boxers, and this guy paints his nails. And he posted online. It's becoming a trend. It's already become a trend. But the left tries to tell you that those things are not gay. Those things are not homosexual. Doesn't make you trans. You're a guy. You can wear a dress. You can paint your nails. You can have long hair. And that's masculine. Who's to say what masculinity is? And yet, when it comes down to it, when they're trying to prove that they are, in fact, women, what do they say? Well, I'm wearing a dress, aren't I? I'm clearly a woman. But no, that's not what it means to be a woman. Yes, those things matter. Of course, we should try to keep to cultural norms. Cultural norms are important. And they make the world go round. It makes things easy to understand what's happening around us. This is why we have customs. This is why we have etiquette. And those things should be adhered to as much as possible. However, wearing a dress doesn't make you a man just as much as putting lipstick on a pig makes them a human being, right? So a woman is one who can deliver life. And that's most fundamentally what a woman is. Most fundamentally, a woman is someone who has the potentiality to bring life into the world. Now, I'm very careful about the word I use. I say potentiality. Because somebody will say, oh, well, some women are barren. Some women can't conceive. Does that make them not a woman? Well, of course not. Of course they are still a woman because they are the type of thing. And I know it's kind of reductionist to say a thing, but we're trying to speak in philosophical language. A woman is a type of thing, is a type of person that has the potentiality, maybe not in actuality because they have some medical problem, but is the species of thing, the type of thing that can deliver life, that can bring life into the world, that forms life in the womb and delivers life into the world. Think about that. Being a sub-creator with God in the most profound of ways. And no one else can do something like that. What an absolute grace. That's something that no man will ever be able to do. No matter how many dresses he puts on, no matter how many nails he paints, no matter how long he grows his hair, a man will never be able to bring life into the world. So let's pray for all those who are struggling with transgenderism, and let's have a love for womanhood, most exemplified in the Blessed Virgin Mary, our most wonderful mother. We'll be right back with more Catholic Drive Time breaking news and stories with Rudy Carlos coming up next.